We give you another 30 seconds just to sit before we start. We're kind of late. 20 seconds. Legal counsel says 20 seconds. Wow. Okay, let's start. So, board of directors, shareholders, company secretary, regulators, our external auditor, PwC, Trisha, good to see you as usual. Special guests, members of the media, and everyone who has joined us remotely via live stream. Good morning, and welcome to our 17th annual general meeting. Whenever say good morning with me, man? There you go. We are happy, as you can imagine, to be able to meet with you once again in our traditional format. Get out, COVID. Today's meeting provides us with an opportunity to reflect on our performance over the past year and to share our plans for the future with you. We'll be presenting our financial results for 2022, as well as sharing updates on our strategic initiatives and goals. Our AGM notice, along with the proxy form, and all accounts and reports necessary for the conduct of this meeting were published on our website, the Jamaica Stock Exchange's website, circulated via email to our shareholders for whom we have email addresses, and by registered mail to shareholders without email addresses. AGM advisories were also published in our local newspapers. Shareholders may view a copy of last year's AGM minutes on our website. I wish to introduce the company secretary, Ms. Diane Reed with an O, and ask that she confirm that the required quorum of shareholders has been met.
Chairman, I confirm that there is a quorum for today's meeting.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you. I call this meeting to order and move that the notice of the meeting be accepted and taken as read. Seconded? I need a seconder. Thank you. And your name, sir, for everybody. Ansel Bloomfield. We have two wonderful looking ladies in the corner here taking the minutes today. I now put a motion before the meeting. Please signify by raising your hands. Those in favor? Those against? I declare the motion carried. I now invite Krista Gay Fisher, our Vice President for Legal, Regulatory, and Compliance, to offer a word of prayer.
Good morning, everyone. At this time, I would invite you to stand and join me in prayer. Dear Lord, as we gather here today for our annual general meeting, we ask for your guidance and blessings throughout today's proceedings. We pray for the success and prosperity of our company, that we may continue to create value for our shareholders and make a positive impact in our industry and community. May we always be mindful of our responsibility to operate in a sustainable manner and to use our resources for the greater good. We ask for wisdom and discernment for our leaders as they guide the strategic vision for the company's future. May their decisions be guided by honesty, integrity.
There's Brent. He's the chairman of SVL Guyana, Walter, as well as chairman of Macala. Thank you. I believe Miss Tony Spence, oh, there she is. our Director of Post to Post. Stand so they can see you. Welcome, Tony. I don't see any other. Okay. Let's also acknowledge those directors who are unable to physically be present with us, but have joined remotely today. Mr. David McConnell, Earlene Anderson, Nicholas Mute, Duncan Stewart, David McConnell, Christopher Berry, Damian Chinyu. Apologies on behalf of Mr. Peter McConnell, who was unable to be here, both either physically or electronically. I'll now ask members of the SVL team in the audience to stand and be recognized. A lot of never ate breakfast. Stand up now. Give them a clap, guys. A record 2022. I also want to thank and recognize our honorary vice chairman, Mr. Ian Levy. And succession is in the air nowadays. His son, Kent Levy, who I missed earlier, who sits on the board of Supreme Ventures Racing and Entertainment. But, you know, we're also being blessed here today. The major representative of the largest shareholder, Zodiac Investments, is here with us today, Mr. Paul G. Mute. Thank you. And you saved the best for last. I would love to recognize our 2022 auditors, PwC, represented today by Trisha Ann Smith da Silva. Where is Trisha? This is the lady who makes sure everything is what it is. Acknowledge hard-working representatives from the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Where are they? I know they're seated outside. I would have seen them before. Can't happen without you. Representatives from our regulators, representatives from IGT. I'm sure I saw Debbie in our green glasses. Where's Debbie? Debbie, you make it work. Good morning. It's true, Debbie, a while ago when you stand up, it looked white. As well as other specially invited guests. Coming out of 2 years of challenges brought on by COVID-19, 2022 began with optimism, albeit tempered by some amount of pragmatism for the Supreme Ventures team. While the peak of the pandemic was in a rearview mirror, it was clear that the lingering after effects continued to impact economic recovery, both locally and globally. Nevertheless, we remain undaunted. Our outlook was positive, and we believed that realizing our vision was not only possible, but probable. We had already proven to you and to ourselves that the team is resilient and our company is versatile enough to weather any economic uncertainty. This morning, I'm pleased to share with you the results of our hard work and give you a glance into our strategic outlook and plans for the current year. We're proud of 2022's achievements and our ability to continue to deliver outstanding returns on your investment, and we want to thank you for continuing the faith you have put in this company. Let me remind you of the pillars on which we built our 5-year strategy. Execution excellence, building strong relationships and market leadership. These three directional strategies remain relevant and important to our continued success. Last year, product expansion, digital expansion, and geographic expansion cemented our position as market leaders. Of course, we know with great success comes great responsibility, and so we place emphasis on our philanthropic endeavors, further strengthening the SVL ecosystem and the relationships that have made the brand iconic. As I stated before, the team remained incredibly focused and not only delivered impressive results, but lay additional foundations from which the next SVL will spring. The country's economy showed positive signs of recovery, with most macroeconomic indicators heading in the right direction. We must acknowledge, however, that the global economic challenges continue to impact us. The GDP growth declining by just over 2 percentage points to 5.2% when compared to 2021. Inflation presented the greatest risk to recover, remaining above the government of Jamaica's targets, if not the Bank of Jamaica, and continued to take a toll on the economy. The fiscal year 22-23 ended at 9.4%, slightly more than 2 percentage points when compared to 21-22, but 3 points above the ideal range, or the upper end of the range between 4 to 6%. Remittance inflows declined by approximately 1.4% to 2.5 billion US when compared to the prior year. The Bank of Jamaica is maintaining their aggressive policy rates, and what we saw for 2022 were successive increases in interest rates. Despite the challenges being faced, the positive indicators help to influence an increase in business and consumer confidence. Our iconic games and our innovative products remain attractive to customers and has allowed us to deliver strong performance in 2022. Despite the economic challenges, SVL had yet another year of impressive results. Internally, we refer to it as a record because it's the highest profit we've ever made. The company realized gross profit of 11.2 billion. And in doing that, that's after putting back 92% of our earnings into the Jamaican economy via prizes, fees, taxes, and operational payments. Gross ticket sales grew to $109.6 billion in 2022. That's amazing. This company started in 2001, and in 22 years, we've been able to move from zero to 110 billion in revenue. That is truly phenomenal. Our customers increased their winnings to a record-breaking 81.5 billion. 2022 has really proven to us that as a group, we're only limited by our vision, and the team has adopted a mantra of limitless vision. When we assess the overall performance of the group, we are recorded yet another positive year with all indicators leading in the right direction. The company brought in 50.7 billion in total revenue, 16% more revenue than in 2022. Our net profit and EBITDA increased as testament to the amazing year of winnings enjoyed by our customers. EPS of 100.42 cents allowed shareholders to maintain healthy dividends of approximately 93 cents for the 22 financial year. Supreme's shareholder value remains strong, and we're highly motivated by these results. Total assets increased by 1.6 billion or 10% to 17 billion in over 21. Shareholder equity grew 10% to 4.7 billion. Number of shareholders increased to 8,163 from 6,770. And the EPS I spoke to before, SVL undoubtedly remains one of the most valuable investments to our shareholders. Our shareholders continue to see significant benefits. 2022 was a dynamic year for the stock market facing global headwinds. However, our stock price held its value, closing at $29.93 per share, a more than 61% improvement when compared to 2021. As I mentioned earlier, we continue to put back approximately 92% of our earnings into the Jamaican economy, which is taxed in 2022, with one of those scratch gains to crown 4 to 6 economy. We have paid out approximately 8.9 billion in commissions and fees to our 1,400 hard-working retailers who are the engine of growth operating small businesses across the country. In addition, the company contributed 10.4 billion in taxes and contributions, which include our contribution to the Consolidated Fund and in turn, the Culture, Health, Arts Association, Sports and Education, otherwise known as CHASE. Let's take a look back at our philanthropic activities in 2022.
At Supreme Ventures, we're all about creating winners every day. But for us, winning is not just about our games. Winning is about positively transforming the lives of hundreds of Jamaicans. And that's where the Supreme Ventures Foundation comes in. After a 2-year hiatus, the Supreme Ventures Junior Creators Camp returned. Our longtime partners Halls of Learning put together an interactive curriculum that exposed over 80 primary level students, including children in state care, to robotics. Our 20th anniversary scholarship awardees entered their 2nd year of tertiary studies. To cheer them along their journey, we held a pep-up session that featured a vision boarding activity and encouragement packages. We spruced up a few children's homes for Labor Day and spent time spreading the joy of reading on Read Across Jamaica Day. In December, we held our Supreme Christmas treat for over 100 children in state care at the Hope Zoo. Through our partnership with the Jamaica Olympic Association, valued at $45 million, our gymnasts, netballers, and track and field athletes who dream of global success all received support from Supreme Ventures. The doctors and nurses lounges at the Kingston Public Hospital, KPH, and the Victoria Jubilee Hospital were refurbished after our $13 million donation. With over 85% of children's homes across the island already outfitted with state-of-the-art fire safety equipment, the foundation is continuing with the rollout of our flagship fire safety program to ensure the safety of our children in state care. It was another great year of giving back to Jamaicans and empowering our vulnerable to thrive. At Supreme Ventures, we're in the business of making winners every day.
It was indeed a great year for the foundation. Can you clap them, please? And we are very proud of those initiatives. We will continue to focus on these strategic areas that impact our most vulnerable in our efforts to make a real sustainable difference in the lives of the people we serve, not simply provide handouts. I want to take this opportunity to recognize the people at the foundation, the chairman of the foundation, Mr. Peter McConnell. Are they not clapping? Mr. Christopher Berry, and director and head cook and bottle washer, Heather Golson. Earlier this year, to bring more cohesion to the naming convention of our subsidiaries, Prime Sports Jamaica Limited was renamed Supreme Ventures Gaming Limited. The name is the only thing that has changed at Supreme Ventures Gaming. It remains a subsidiary that powers the company's gaming brands, lottery products, sports betting, and the Acropolis online and casino products. Supreme Ventures Gaming once again performed admirably in 2022, seizing opportunities to expand our footprint and to innovate our products. Lottery and numbers games continue to be a strong contributor to the overall results, showing gross ticket sales of approximately $75 billion, an increase of 18.5% over 21. Gross ticket sales from lotteries accounted for 45% of overall gross sales compared to 69% in 2021. That shows as a group we're diversifying our revenues. The instant gaming product, Supreme Scratchers, and the introduction of the Monster Ball enhanced our value proposition to our customers. Sports betting sales continue to be a key growth segment and increased by over 18% over 21. This increase was not surprising, as 2022 was the World Cup year, and it also follows a continued global trend of growing interest in sports and skill-based gaming. Our charger platform that was introduced in 2021 continues to improve steadily. PIN code sales in the charger platform also saw an increase of over 5% when compared to 2021. The channel represents 11% of gross ticket sales. Our retail expansion, network expansion continued. We welcomed over 200 new retailers into the Supreme Ventures family. In June 2022, welcome Neville. In June 2022, we opened our largest company-owned retail store, the Supreme Ventures flagship store on the Twin Gates Plaza on Constant Spring Road in Kingston. There's space at the front, Mr. Gleanerman. Supreme Ventures remain a strong brand with a loyal customer base. SVL has invested over $3.6 billion in Caymanas Park. $3.6 billion. I wonder if they're hearing me. And its related ecosystem since the acquisition of the operations in 2017. This figure is more than 5 times greater than the contractual amount we were supposed to spend, which was approximately $500 million. The SVRL team has done a phenomenal job in continuously improving the operations of Caymanas Park for the good of Jamaican racing. We now feel confident that the horse racing community sees and supports our vision and we have a more of a cohesive team effort towards working to a sustainable goal. SVL remains committed to investing in the further growth and development of the product, and we are on a growth path which we know will take Caymanas Park to profitability very soon. We suggest to the government that now is the perfect time to get more involved in developing horse racing at the community level. We are proud to highlight some of the multiple infrastructure improvement that SVL has invested in Caymanas. You notice I slow down my speech because I want the people at Caymanas to hear. We have constructed a 3,000 panel solar energy system expected to generate 1.6 megawatt and significantly reduce the company's carbon footprint. We've installed a digital tote board. We've commissioned a new well. In addition to the solar energy project, other investment in infrastructure at Caymanas included the installation of a 60 by 40 foot digital tote board, which is the largest of its kind in the English-speaking Caribbean, a long-anticipated project that has enhanced the punter experience at the park and is also a potential revenue earner. The water distribution system received a much-needed boost with the commission of the new well and an overhead tank providing the precious resource necessary for the horsemen to the track maintenance and the general operations of the track. We are very pleased to stage the inaugural running of the Mute Mile Invitational in December. This race carried the richest purse in the English-speaking Caribbean. Fixed odds betting was also introduced at the Mute Mile, bringing into reality an option we envisioned when we signed a partnership with BetMakers back in 2021. We've made inroads into North America with live racing being broadcast in the US tri-state area, Canada, and the United Kingdom via the Bridge FM and their broadcast partners. And by signing a contract with the largest advanced deposit wagering platform, TVG FanDuel, in December 2022. The team continued to make inroads into North America with live racing being broadcast. I just said this all about Bridge and the US tri-state. Never me repeat it, so you make a note, right? This emphasis on proving the marketing and product offering was reflected in the ticket sales. Caymanas saw a 19% sales, and we touched the $10 billion mark for the first time. All those investments have borne fruit. For the first time since we assumed operations, as at December 31st, 2022, Caymanas Park has turned a profit. You got that, Neville? We recorded a profit from operations, which is the first time that has ever happened. Unfortunately, due to foreign exchange losses of almost $70 million, we actually made a loss before tax of approximately $48 million. But our auditors, we were able to convince them that this operational profit is a sign of things to come, and as such, we were able to set up a deferred tax asset, and for the simple people like you and I, long and short of it, we got a tax credit, so Caymanas actually produced a net profit of $162 million after that tax credit was applied to the loss. Clap, no? I want to publicly recognize the chairman, the executive chairman of SVRL, Mr. Solomon Sharp, for all his hard work. Aswanda Stoddart, and I believe Chris Will should be in the audience. I don't know if you can stand and be recognized. Aswanda is here. Unfortunately, Chris had an emergency. Stand up, Aswanda, let them see you. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you realize this is probably going to be considered one of the greatest corporate turnarounds of a company in the history of Jamaica. Neville, profit and Caymanas Park have never been put in the same sentence before. As one that take a bow. On behalf of your chairman and Chris, and Lorna left us, but she played an integral part as well. So we have to recognize Lorna good. Ladies and gentlemen, we were told this was impossible. We were told this could not happen. Everybody on this side of the hemisphere, the model that they looked at is that a racing track has to be subsidized by gambling or a casino or whatever it is. But we believe that as a business, every business must stand on its own for it to be sustainable. And we searched the globe and we found racing tracks that were actually profitable on their own. And nobody did not know at the time, Neville, but we modeled Caymanas off of that. We're still not exactly where we want to be. We want to get to a point where the profit before tax is positive. We hope that for this year that will be the case. But we have a balancing act because we have stakeholders who also need to benefit from it as well, which is why we have increased purses, etc. But we believe the racetrack is moving in the right direction, and more importantly, shareholders, Caymanas is no longer a drag on the group. Interestingly, Caymanas can be a profit driver for the group. And I think this is an opportunity for SVRL as promoters and their stakeholders to really drive and extract the potential out of Caymanas. As you can very well imagine, ladies and gentlemen, fellow shareholders, this I think is one of, if not the greatest achievements for 2022. So as you have seen, we've set the stage, we've created the momentum, we have ensured that we're prepared for the opportunities ahead. 2022 saw more investment and exponential growth, investment in the technical infrastructure, investment in our human resource capacity, both internal and external, and investment in our operational capabilities. We want to thank all of our customers, all of our retail network who have remained loyal to us. First quarter this year was a solid performance. And as you shareholders know, every time we make a record, the only thing you ask me for is a bigger record. Unfortunately, the first quarter of last year was a record of $1 billion. And so this year's performance of $700 million is below the billion. But that $700 million in the first quarter ranks as probably the 5th or 6th highest quarterly profit that we have ever put out. Unfortunately, it came a year after $1 billion. So what we see happening is that in 2022, we actually had $2 billion quarters, the first quarter and the fourth quarter. So remember, in the first quarter of 2021, it was the first time Supreme made $1 billion in a quarter. And we quietly actually made more money than that in the fourth quarter. So we believe that's a trend that we're trying to push to, where we'll have more billion-dollar quarters. Unfortunately, we weren't able to achieve it in the first quarter, but 700 is still a positive outturn. We're well on the way with the completion of our flagship fire safety installation program, with less than 10 homes to be completed in 2023. Team Supreme continues to deliver and volunteer their time at various philanthropic activations such as the National Reading Day and Labor Day. Another phase of our projects at the KPH and the Victoria Jubilee Hospital wrapped up in the improvements that we have done that the doctors can sleep in. Our scholarship recipients are peacefully settled in their second year of matriculation, and we continue to engage them. We've also committed to over $600 million in fees to Chase through the Consol Fund for the first quarter of 2022. We've had a successful 3 years and a good first quarter of 23. As a company, we are, however, never complacent. SVL is continuously looking forward and moving forward, and 2023 will see even more innovation and expansion across the group. SV FinTech will ramp up the rollout of additional products under our financial services brand Evolve, which will include bill payment services, loans, microfinance type products. We've been laser focused on ensuring that our core business of lottery and gaming is always innovating and evolving. The Supreme Scratchers product launched last year has proven popular and in demand from every socioeconomic group across the country. And it has only been in the market for 2 months in the first quarter of 2022. We have hit the streets with our Supreme Wheels promotion this quarter, where for the first time we have a non-cash top prize, which is a brand new 2024 Haval 86, courtesy of our partners, the Stewart's Automotive Group. We will continue to roll out new and interesting scratch-off cards to the market periodically, and always providing the highest level of entertainment to our customers. The geographical expansion of the company remains a key focus, and this year our journey progressed with inroad into Ghana. Earlier this year, we signed an agreement with Game Park Limited, our partners in Ghana, to provide services to them. They have also received their license from the National Lottery Authority in Ghana and are ready to operate. Back here in Jamaica, in line with our corporate social responsibility, we look forward to identifying our second supreme hero and to highlight a Jamaica who is giving back to their community. As I said, we're proud of how the business performed in 2022, a year that has proved that our limit is your vision. It has really been an action-packed period, and the SVL team has been more than up for the challenge. I want to recognize every member of Team Supreme for the role they continue to play in ensuring we come through this difficult period stronger than ever. We're also gratified that the market has not been distracted, proving that we do offer Jamaica's favorite games, as demonstrated by the retention of our market share. By strengthening our infrastructure and capacity, we have been able to realize the latent potential of all our traditional core business lines. Sports betting, horse racing, lottery and gaming have seen exponential growth. Our digital universe has expanded with multiple products and channels, and all KPIs are showing positive growth indicators. The economic activity generated by SVL's ecosystem continues to grow and generate beneficial ripple effects across Jamaica's commercial landscape. We have in turn built strong, comprehensive, and focused philanthropic support programs that not only assist the most vulnerable in our society, but invest in and gives back to the communities in which we operate. As market leaders in the gaming industry, we're positioned as a strong, stable group of companies ready to leverage the springboard that has been carefully built over the past 5 years. The Supreme Ventures Group is heading nowhere but up, and we are ready and well equipped for the journey to the next level. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're now at our favorite section where you are able to ask your questions. If you have a question or a point to make, I would be grateful if you could make your way to the standing microphones and observe social distances as you line up to ask your questions. As you begin, please state your name and whether you are a shareholder or a proxy. If you are a proxy, please state your name and the name of the shareholder you represent. Then go ahead with the question. Good, no questions.
The growth of your ticket sales and, the warm embrace of the different brands and consumer sentiment in terms of their own ability to grow from whether just salaries or business. Meaning, is Supreme Ventures a proxy for an additional source of growth? Do people not feel that they can do it without trying to gamble? So I wanted your opinion on that.
So the answer is yes. As we indicate in our presentation, Supreme is an engine of economic growth. There are many stories that abound from our customers in Supreme. So, let me not say the average person. People in different social brackets have different outcomes and see things differently. So a lot of the feedback we get from people who, didn't have anything to eat, but one day, 10 o'clock cash pot, and they earn enough money to be able to send their kids to school, give their spouse something to work on, and for them to hustle. That is the reality of life at a certain point. At different levels, we have actually had a winner that was dying from cancer because they couldn't afford the treatment. And then what they won, they're actually alive today, many years after. So there are several stories like that that the average public might not necessarily be aware of in terms of what we do. An area that is significant for us that we have not, in my opinion, done enough. The contribution from Supreme, it represents probably the majority of the 90% of the revenue that goes into Chase. So the activities that Chase conducts across the island is being facilitated by the business we generate. But as I said, we have not done a good enough job to make people understand that this is where it's coming from. And so from a financial perspective, which as you know is my background, we have a structure where the government has not put up any capital, but the profit we made last year of $3 billion, we paid more than three times to the government in fees. And it's the greatest investment because the simple reality, Denise, is that people are going to gamble. It's not a matter of if, it's going to happen, right? And the question is, do you want them to gamble underground where the government doesn't earn anything from it, or do you want it to be done in a legal and regulated way, which is what we at Supreme Ventures represent? And may I add, you're asking this question at the AGM where you have shareholders that has increased by 2,000, that anybody in Jamaica, including the same gamers, can actually buy shares and benefit from the outcome of their gambling.
Okay, thank you. Two more points since no one else is
All right,
asking.
so we're flipping the script. So you're supposed to be asking a question, but you're giving me the question. I got it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, So two more.
So was that answer sufficient?
It was very political. Yes.
Political. Oh, how would you have answered
Politically
it?
correct.
Ah, I like that last part.
Correct.
Correct.
So actually it leads to my second, I guess, question is, what is your relationship with the consumer surveys that are done quarterly in terms of consumer sentiment on spending, economic expectations? Do you have or would you consider so that there would be a wider understanding of how much gambling supports the economy? Would you consider it?
It's not about consider it. We actually do it.
I've never seen it from the consumer and business confidence indices. I've never seen.
But the fact that you're standing over there looking in that direction doesn't mean that something isn't happening over here.
Okay.
So we haven't been doing it on the platform that you can see. But the fact of the matter is that the information that we have, some of it, I would argue, it is proprietary. It is key to how we're able to do what we do.
Okay.
So as you can very well imagine, we have a very distinct, if not specific, view on a lot of consumer activity.
Right.
The most I'll say to you, it's the reason I keep telling people SVL is one of the few countries in this hemisphere with the type of potential that it has, because you could actually turn that into a business. So based on the information we see and the trends that we see, once we feel that we have fully controlled and understand how we run our core, it is an area that we can branch out in. We have billions of data points. There are a lot of businesses that we can get into with that data point. So I leave it at that point in the sense that we're down that road and there are business opportunities there. So probably that's why you're not seeing it in the direction.
Okay, the last one, a little bit of controversy, but someone shared with me that they believe that since Supreme Ventures now has Sunday gambling, that $4 billion Jamaican dollars a month has been redirected from the church. Would you want to comment on that? That's my last one.
Barry Chavans, the great Jamaican sociologist, he said that, Jamaicans are insensitive to facts, yeah? And so I'll give you the facts. So once everybody settles down from your wonderful question, right? I'll give you the facts. There's always been gambling in Jamaica. It's just that Supreme has been the entity that has brought gambling into a legal framework from a worldwide perspective with regulated entities. So there's always been gambling, right? There's always been economic activity from cockfighting, this, that whole 9 yards, right? So Supreme has always had the ability to earn on a Sunday. I think the issue with the churches at one point was Sunday horse racing, right? So it's argued that cash pot would not affect the church because you just go out and you buy it and you come back. Horse racing maybe because you have to stay at the track so you don't go to church, right? But it's something that I don't have any definitive analysis to say this has been diverted from X or Y. But if I was to hazard a guess, I would say it would be positive because one of the things that I've found that's very strong in religion is that when a church member gets a windfall, it can be described as when they're alive if they have won something, or worse, God forbid, if they die and they're leaving funds. The church has a process of tithing, and there are several people who tithe the money.
You're saying Supreme Ventures contributes every Sunday to tithing?
No, that's what you're saying. I am just saying, if you were to do an analysis, you find that people who get a windfall, they tend to share it with their loved ones. And religious people love the Lord more than they love the most.
Okay, thank you.
Boy, when you see people like Dennis turn up and you have to wonder.
Good afternoon.
Yes, afternoon.
Good morning. My name is Garnet Richards. I'm a shareholder.
Yes, sir. I
have some comments. First, I must say that I appreciate what your management team, including yourself, have done with the company and has continued to put it on a profit-making path. Also, I'm not a winner in the games, but fortunately, being a shareholder, you have given generous dividends. So from that perspective, I benefit. And
You're welcome.
I want to say thank you for that. But something I was noticing is that your tickets are not very readily available as you go into the rural areas. For example, I was wondering if you could aggressively approach the service station as a means of having them as outlets on a more aggressive approach, because they're all over the country. And in other jurisdictions, you can easily go to a service station and get a ticket. And I find I was in the we call it Kellits area, and I couldn't get the tickets because the outlets are not there. So I was unable to try a chance Saturday gone to see if I could win in it because I couldn't get a ticket. So the suggestion is for you to look at the gas station as a viable means of being an outlet. So you could have so much outlets because of that. And it would, of course, increase your ticket sales.
Yeah, so you want me to answer that?
Yes.
Right. So I thank you for that. And, one of the beautiful things about this company is that, and the team, motivating them every year becomes harder and harder because of how well they deliver results. So we deliver results at a pace where people would have forgotten that we actually signed an agreement with the Jamaica Gasoline Retailers Association, which allows us to speak to all the gas stations that are involved, right? But still, it's a negotiation. We also have a team that is consistently looking on the distribution network to see how best to make it efficient. That's two. And then you'd have noticed earlier I made a reference to the fact that we actually welcome 200 new retailers. So we're constantly looking at places where we can put new retail places in. But it's subject to a very simple fact. If you have too many retail locations out there, you will start to get retail locations that cannot support itself. So we try to maintain a distance in between retailers to allow them to have a certain amount of market share. We don't get it correct all the time, and maybe that area you speak about is an area we need to take a closer look on. But in some other areas, we'll have 4, 5, 6 retailers in relatively small space. But the CEO of Supreme Gaming, Jesus Johnston, is here, and that is something that he deals with daily. You can have a chat with him in terms of the specific area you went to. But with certainty, anywhere we think we can get viable ticket sales, we will be there.
Thank you for that. Another point is, in another jurisdiction, 2 numbers usually give you a free ticket. I don't know if that happens here, because I think I buy something and I had 2 numbers, I got nothing. So I was just wondering if you could revisit that, or, you know, where somebody could get something out of the thing on the lower levels.
So we will take note of that. So, you know, one of the things, I mean, your comment has sparked. Supreme is not your traditional company. Some people look on and say that we're a monopoly. But a monopoly holds on to something, and that's what they just beat to death. You know, Supreme started in 2001 with 2 products. In the gaming space, we currently now have 11 products with different aspects to them. So you now have Mega Ball, and as I indicated, we introduced the Monster Ball, and we now have Scratchers, right? So we are not only constantly innovating, we're constantly trying to understand what the customer is asking for. So some things are cultural, so in certain things that work in one jurisdiction might not necessarily work in the next jurisdiction. But one thing I can tell you, any advice that we see, we take it, we will analyze it, and if we think that we can make money from it, we definitely will. So I'm sure Jesus has made note of the point, and it's very likely that they've already been analyzing it, because I've heard a version of what you have said.
All right, thank you for your response.
I appreciate you asking the question, sir, and enjoy the dividends.
Good morning, everyone. Carrie Berry Tape, Shareholder. Hi, Mr. Peart.
Hi, Carrie.
Welcome, everyone. And just some points to note, sir. On page 49, I noticed that you have mentioned all your senior management. However, I am not seeing any information about them, and I'm wondering if in next year's annual report, if we could just, you know, give some more information about this colorful team that has brought the company to
Information like what, Kerry, for example?
Years of expertise, where they, you know, the usual where they're educated, I don't know. I would just like to see something, you know, legal, something else, I don't know. I'm just asking. Next,
No, I'm listening. I'm just trying to find out like what you'd want.
No, just some more information. You and your team have brought the company to an phenomenal height, and you are all to be commended. I don't think the shareholders realize what you have actually accomplished, and I think it is quite remarkable. The other thing that I would like to ask is that I noticed that everything is consolidated. I'm a nitpicker. Is it possible that we could just see, you know, something from remittances, something from gaming, and how those segments are growing? Because you did mention that Caymanas is no longer a drag on the company, which is phenomenal, but we would just like to see the contribution of the various segments, because this company has added microfinance, it has added, you know, and it has expanded geographical locations. I mean, to me, that is just, your leadership goes without saying. You know, I mean, I'm sure it's not just you one, but the whole team. So that's why I'm just asking if we could just have some more information about the team and some more segmented, you know.
Sure.
And congratulations.
So we take your points on advisement. I think they're very good points. The only thing I'll say to you is that as it pertains to how we break out individual businesses, we're in a competitive landscape. So we're constantly thinking about, you know, how do you protect your secret sauce, but at the same time be transparent. You know, so you know we have to balance it, but we note it, and we'll have the conversation, and we'll see what next year brings.
And the final comment that I'd like to make is the whole country is in the throes of tourism. the roads, the Devon House refurbishing, the new ports. What, if any, are there plans for Supreme Ventures, betting and gaming, to incorporate tours, anything like that, to incorporate tourism?
To incorporate tourism?
Yes, or to expand the product to the tourists, because that is a great source of revenue.
Well, I could say Ghanaians are tourists who have expanded to Ghana.
Sorry?
So anybody that is in the country can bet, you know, and I believe there are some instances of tourism, people from we refer to as tourists that have gamed, the same way there are Jamaicans that have gone to foreign countries for a couple of days and they can buy.
Yeah, but
we actually have an instance, you know, of somebody winning the Super Lotto, and that the winning prize actually was unclaimed, and it ended up going to the government. And it was we assumed at the time that somebody flew into the island, bought the ticket, and left the island, and didn't realize that the ticket had been won. So, you know, outside of that, you know, there's nothing really that we have to specifically target tourists, other than actually expanding to different countries.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Good morning.
Morning. Just lift up the mic so it can.
The
speak
name
into
is
it.
Calvin Mitchell. I'm a shareholder. The question is, now that Supreme venture into Caymanas Park, is there a school, or could it consider a school for those who are interested in becoming a jockey? Is there a school in Jamaica, or they have to go overseas?
So the regulator, the Jamaica JRC, the Racing Commission, actually has, I believe, what's called a jockey school. And they actually had a graduation, I think, last week for jockeys and trainers. So there is a jockey school that the regulators oversee.
And they would interested in getting people from overseas here also?
For the jockey school?
Yeah.
I believe anybody can come to the jockey school. So once you express interest, the BJLC, not the BJLC, the Jamaica Racing Commission have parameters. And once you hit those parameters, you can be accepted and they'll train you how to be a jockey.
Okay, thanks. Well, I was trained in the state, so that's why I asked.
Oh, so you want to become a jockey at this stage?
No, not anymore.
I was just checking.
Not anymore.
Look, I was going to suggest you have to lose a little
I
weight.
changed my profession.
Okay.
I changed my profession. I'm now a theater artist.
That's what, you're fine. I think that's a great profession.
Thanks.
Thank you for the question, sir.
Hi there, Chairman.
How are you, sir?
Arthur Ellison. I'm a shareholder.
Yes.
I guess much of your excess earnings have to be put into other areas that you can earn money.
Yes.
The question I was asking is, how's the general stock market, how's the general financial atmosphere affecting how you might have gained or lost through putting any kind of investments into any of those areas, bond market, stock market, whatever?
So I know for my sins I have 2 jobs, but today it's just a Supreme Ventures, not Mayberry, right? So I think Supreme has enough opportunities to focus its investment in, other than, you know, looking at the bond market or the stock market. Our excess cash, we try to harvest as much interest as we can on it, but it's usually short-term instruments because every day we have demand for the various opportunities that we see.
So I was wondering if there was any chance that some of your investments might affect other areas of the general financial market.
So give me an example. I'm not fully understanding the question. Give me an example.
Here it is, you might have some excess cash. You put it in the stock market, for example, or a bond market,
Right.
where the expectation is that it'll earn enough in this financial year
Yes.
to make that effort worthwhile.
Yes.
Has it been something that you've been working on
Yeah,
as
it's
part of your normal operation?
It's a part of our treasury operation. So I think 2021 we had significantly excess cash, and we were able to, for example, trade foreign exchange. And I think we made 400 million that year. But for 2022, the core required a certain amount of investment, and that cash was reduced. So you have to focus on what is in front of you. So remember, our core business is gaming, technology, etc., right? And that's what you generate your funds to do. If in the ordinary course of business, you might end up with some excess cash. Yes, our treasury department is charged with trying to make as much money in a safe and low risk way, because at the end of the day, the demand is going to come for the business. So we do have our sights on that, because again, you know what my second job is, so we definitely have our sights on that when the opportunity presents itself.
There it is. Should we anticipate then that perhaps investing in SVL's super inventor stock is likely to be a better deal than investing in other areas, since you're doing what you can in it all?
As far as I'm concerned, Supreme Ventures is one of the two best stocks to invest in. I think the first one is Mayberry and the second one is Supreme. But that's just me.
I'm glad to follow your advice on the matter.
There you go.
Thank you.
We have come to the end of questions. Yes, sir. Nice jacket. Come to your side.
Good evening. My name is Navardan.
Still morning.
Morning.
Yeah, man, it's 11 o'clock.
Okay then.
Well, move fast. It might seem like it's long, but it's fast.
Okay, good morning everyone. Well, my name is Navardan Newman. I'm one of the shareholders, and it's just a comment I have, really. What happened is I realized that some of the machines around the island is giving a little problem, like network problem.
Network problems.
Network problems.
Yes.
For example, so I'm really wondering what would take place if they're going to try to actually upgrade the digital section.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really wondering what's next within that area, because I'm not sure if they have I'm not sure how they take place in the. Let I put my words together properly.
You're not sure that what? Sorry?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. Within the digital era, I'm not sure exactly. It's kind of moving slow within the machines, because I'm really wondering why all of the machines sometimes like not working.
Okay. So the answer is pretty simple. So my interpretation of your question is that, we have seen where some of our customers prefer a digital channel. So that's why we have SV Games. So you can play all of our products online. So once you go to SV Games, you can download our app and you can buy your different games online. That's one. Two, we're constantly upgrading because technology improves every day. So some of our terminals, you will probably have one SIM, meaning just Flow alone or Digicel alone. So if Digicel or Flow has issues, then the machine might go down. But you have some newer machines that you can have both SIMs. And so if Flow goes down, they have Digicel. If Digicel goes down, they have Flow, right? And so we're encouraging a change out of all of those things and all of those different areas. Because remember, as a business, we appreciate feedback like what you're giving us. So after you're finished, I'd love you to speak to Jesus, who runs Supreme Gaming, and you can just give him the specific example as well as a specific area that you've seen it happen, and we will definitely take a look at it. But usually it comes from one of those three categories, where there might be a telco or provider might be down for that day and they don't have the other sim to work it. But rest assured, we see that challenge, and we're constantly working with the retailers and encouraging them to change out to the dual SIM type scenario.
Okay then. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your questions.
Good morning, David.
I was feeling left out. I didn't see you today. I'll never reach before you.
My friend didn't get to have all, but she'll get in a car, so I had to just attend to that earlier.
I hear you, sir. More supreme stock required. Introduce yourself.
Shareholder David Rose. First question. So I looked on the Supreme Court listing, the commercial
For some reason, I can't hear you, David.
the Supreme Court commercial listing. Oh, yeah. I looked in the Supreme Court commercial listing,
Yes.
and I saw that SVL versus the Fair Trading Commission was supposed to have a delivery. I believe it was yesterday. What was the outcome of that case?
I haven't been updated. I'm not sure what the situation is. This is not the lawyer. I've not been updated as yet. The moment we're updated, you'll know. Next question.
I appreciate it. So earlier, you were speaking towards the expansion of the fintech, terrestrial, digital, and so forth.
Yes.
And is there any update with respect to, the BOJ's microcredit license for the businesses?
Right.
Is there any update in terms of have you told have you been far advanced in the process or?
Right. So as you know, that the process of getting licensed has been a bit tedious because of the amount of people that are seeking to be licensed. So the only update I have on that is, which you probably would have known, we have actually entered into an agreement to buy out the minority shareholders in Michaela. So that is to be 100% subsidiary of Supreme Ventures. And as indicated before, we have sent in our application. We're just following the process, which is a bit time consuming, because the fact is that I think there are over 300 or 400 microfinance businesses, and the BOJ has a very thorough process which they have to go through, and it is taking time to go through all of them. So we expect that it will be positive.
I should say, someone who recently got their license pointed out that, the range or scope, of the directors' involvement in different boards and so forth, impacts, that at time and so forth. So I appreciate the context.
Yeah, but the key point, David, on that, before you go to your next question, is that it's not preventing our ability to conduct business.
No, the BOJ gave non-ejection letters to those who have not received their licenses yet.
So that's the key point. It's important that we are licensed, but the key point is that it doesn't prevent us from building the business and growing the business.
Next question. So earlier you pointed out that Caymanas, had a successful year with profitability. You highlighted, Florida, TVG, FanDuel, and so forth. So first question is, what's the tenure on the lease, for the Caymanas Park for SVREL?
The tenure on the lease?
Yeah, the tenure on the lease.
It was originally a 30-year lease with an option to renew from 2017.
Thanks. I just didn't recall that, so I just wanted context.
That's fine. That's why I'm here.
And then,
there are times we help the media,
And, you travel with Chairman Sharp to, Hong Kong and other markets, and you're referring to, the stream of the signal. So, firstly, how, is the reduction in GCT on horses supposed to materially impact the Caymanas business?
There are different views on that. The fact is that SVREL already had that. So in terms of what we plan to do, it wouldn't have a significant impact on that because we could already have imported horses in that way. But I think the wider population, it has to be positive because obviously if you're paying less for something, it's a benefit, yeah? The thing is that, how much was given up? $6 million, so it shows that not enough horses were coming in anyway, yeah? And so we are on a drive to actually increase the horse population, and whether you know or not, last year we bought 5 horses, and this year we're going to the June sale, and hopefully we should be able to buy multiples of that. I think we'll probably end up with more than 10 horses. So it is a model that is used by profitable horse racing entities. I can now say that. Profitable horse racing tracks across the world, they have a model where they actually help to stimulate the increase in the horse population by buying horses, for want of a better word, on the proper count. And it does two things. It encourages the other owners in the ecosystem to buy horses. And then ultimately, the local owners who can't go to the sale, they could potentially buy the horses from us as the promoter. So we're going down that road where the promoter will have a certain set of horses. People can buy them. We'll keep some for ourselves and race them. And then the biggest thing is that we're creating what is called a leasing opportunity, which would try to attract people like yourself, David, a younger individual with some disposable income, where you won't have to put out the capital cost of buying a horse. So let's say the cost of a horse is $7 million. The owner would have to pay $7 million and then pay keep and care. So in our leasing system, we would buy the horse, we would then lease the horse to you, and you would only pay keep and care. Keep and care on average is about $100,000 per horse per month, right? And so you'd probably have a syndicate, let's say you and your 5 friends, so you can actually own a horse under our leasing program, and you're contributing $20,000 a month. And so what we're trying to do is to get back to the heyday of racing, late 70s, early 80s, where you had owners that went across the age spectrum from 80 all the way down to 20. And this is a nice way in which to bring people in. And it benefits you, it benefits us, because we have a purse split. So we'll negotiate a purse split where every time the horse earns money, we, the promoter, will get a percentage, which we'll use to offset the capital costs, your share, pay your keep and care costs, and a profit.
Hope my questions so far are not too technical, and you're enjoying them so far.
Sorry?
Hope you're enjoying my questions so far. They're not too technical or anything like that.
Well, I enjoy a lot of things, but not necessarily questions. But if you insist.
Money.
Yeah, well,
money.
hey, as I said, let's get it going, because you have a lot of people.
I understand.
Trisha drinking up our water, she have a long speech ahead. Let's go.
No. So, in terms of streaming the signals to, in the different international markets,
yes.
Like what value, you can give an estimated value, but like what estimated value are expected to be derived from, the streaming of signals to more markets. So I remember Australia, for example, probably Eastern California, and with the TVG FanDuel, saying like, what's the expected income generation coming from this project?
So we benefit in 3 ways. Basically, if I tell you 4, don't kill me. Obviously, the first one is that we earn a fee. The fee is not as much as people think, but we do earn a fee. The second way is that we have access now for our bettors to bet into a much larger pool. So one of the challenges in Jamaica, whether in horse racing or in gaming, is the underground economy. So once your pool gets to a certain size, it's more difficult for the person to call a local bookie, because the pool can take the value of his bet. So that is huge, because it's a bigger pool, right? So just in exporting the signal, it creates an opportunity for our punters to continue to be engaged. And the third one is, like with any other business, it puts us in a position to be in the ecosystem. So when you hear the story about Solomon inviting me to Hong Kong, is that these racetracks across the world are now hearing about Caymanas, and they hear from different areas. So obviously, if you're exporting your signal to certain people, there are conferences across the world, people speak to people, and they're hearing about this up-and-coming racetrack that all of a sudden is making big waves and stuff. So that third one, I feel, is actually the biggest potential value creator. Because in the last year, Solomon and his team, Chris and Aswanda, have been exposed to a variety of movers and shakers in the horse racing industry across the world. And we are now signing deals that in the past people couldn't think about. They have a deal that they're waiting on the actual signature that I think is going to blow people's minds. But again, they don't like to tell me these things because they know I'm going to go out and talk. But I won't say it today, right? So don't tell them that I mentioned it to you, by the way. But I think that's the biggest opportunity. It gets us it gets us into the ecosystem. So for example, we'll be going to the Belmont Stakes next week, and we were invited by our partner there. We've been invited to Ascot, we've been invited to Hong Kong, Melbourne, etc. And in some instances, we have local potential owners who have never been to these places. So we are setting up a program where, because of our relationships, we'll bring along a couple of people so that they can see the ecosystem. And then what it does is that when we speak about some of the visions that we have here in Jamaica, it becomes easier to sell it, because you're not only hearing it from Solomon, you're not only hearing it from Chris and Aswanda or Gary. It is a third party that is saying, hey, yeah, true.
Thanks, and it's good to hear that the Mutate Mile, thanks to the Mutate family, Nicholas, for expanding the prize money for the...
Yes, the purse has been increased thanks to their generosity and belief in horse racing.
And belief in SVL.
And belief in SVL.
So I remember you speaking about SVL basically, being this juggernaut in the Jamaican economy in terms of, how much cash you move and so forth. And, I remember you speaking about, potential opportunities with the BOJ to, assist in getting more persons, into the formal economy.
Yes.
So the first question is, with respect to, it's not multiple questions, like.
Hey, focus.
No. No, so the first question, is that, so earlier you mentioned that about the remaining minority interest in Aquila.
Yes.
So was that because, there was a potential delay happening because of the BOJ regulatory approval right there?
No, it was an opportunity that I think made sense. So the other point you make about you use the word juggernaut, I didn't, but so coming back to Denise's question, right? Because of the footprint of SVL, there are certain businesses that, for a better word, are simple for us to backward or forward integrate into, just because of the sheer amount of data. And that's the reason we're building the fintech arm of the business, because we have customers now that some people will never ever get, because just based on how they behave. And so they are seeking, the data is saying to us, they're seeking solutions, and we're putting ourselves in a position to provide those solutions. But again, the other issue that was indicated before in terms of excess cash to other investments, these are all the opportunities that we have, and you only have so much money, right? Because as the other gentleman speaks about, him wanting dividend, he smile when he sees dividend, right? So we have to balance all of that. And, we have hurdle rates, meaning, we want to invest the money that gives us the biggest return. And, the average person would think after 20 years, your lottery and gaming business would now be mature. Certainly when we came, in terms of my investment group came to SVL, it was a mature business. But since we have been there, we have now found a renewed growth rate that is just sucking investment dollars. So some of those other plans that we have to leave it on the sideline because of the return from the core. So what we're going to do, there's somebody else that wants a question behind you. So we'll give you a pause and then let him speak. And then if you finish your drink, you can come back again.
Morning. My name is Andrew McCullough, and I'm a shareholder. First of all, I'd like to congratulate you and your team on the work that you have done.
Thank you.
For the past financial year. And in particular, foundation, it is vitally important that we give back to society.
Yes.
One quick question. I took a cursory look at the 5-year statistical review, and in particular the current ratio. It has declined from 1.97 to 1.47 to 1.04. And your working capital from 4 billion to 2.4 billion to 291 million. Is that trend expected to continue for 2023? And is there plans to reverse that?
Not only are there plans to reverse it, the reversal has started. So again, the points that were made earlier, we have to balance the dividend requirement with the investment opportunities. So if you looked on our numbers as at the end of December, it's probably the lowest our current assets has ever gone to. But then if you look on the balance sheet as at March 31st, 2023, you would have seen a material increase in the current assets. So we always are balancing that cash requirement. As you're aware, we have this opportunity in Ghana amongst other opportunities. So we're gearing up for that, but that is a very critical aspect of our business, where we're trying to manage our working capital to make it as optimal as possible. So we're looking at different parameters surrounding our accounts receivables, surrounding our accounts payables, and how we fund our capital projects. So we have to keep that in mind because, you shareholders seem to love this 90% dividend. And I don't want to have to come here one year to say, guys, can we roll back the dividend because I probably would have to go hide when we start fling stone, right? But we have to manage that 90% dividend payout with the possibilities and opportunities and projects that we have.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So before David asks another question, is there anybody else that have another question? Because David and I will stand up here and go the whole day and we don't.
No, Gary, you can't do me so.
I'm not doing it like that.
No,
but we just want to give somebody else a chance.
No, but I'm just here waiting as well.
All right, cool. Go ahead. We
So,
need to put a meter of questions on you. Go ahead.
no, I come up with one in the spot.
I'm just teasing you. I'm not calling you David Steve, all right?
No, so all right. So with respect to Ghana, and
Yes.
also the fact that you've been touting and you've been emphasizing like crazy, hey, we have our own proprietary lottery platform. So, Ghana is, the first market that you've entered, in terms of that significant international expansion. And I know you mentioned that, the Guyana market is where you're deploying your software already. But in terms of other international markets, like what opportunity have you seen manifest or, in discussions so far? You'd have to give me specific if you don't want to, in sense, but, like what's the reality going on?
Well, as you've said, in the gaming world, having your own proprietary software is big, right? But at the same time, I want to take the opportunity again to big up Debbie and the IGT team because they have been and continue to be our lottery software provider, and they've done a phenomenal job. As a matter of fact, we don't do anything without consulting them, but sometimes, their hurdle rate might be different from my hurdle rate. But we treasure them as our major partner and supplier. And it's something, as I said, certainly whilst I'm here, we will not be doing anything in any country without having a chat with them first. The opportunities are there, but you guys are not interested overly in opportunities. What you guys are interested in is executed transactions. So, we have this opportunity in Ghana. So the next step is how well do we execute? And that's what we're gearing up for. What I can say to you is that, we were able to test the software and run the software well in Guyana. But Guyana has a total population of about, 300,000, Walter? 750,000, of which 200 are in places that you and I will recognize daily, right? But going to a Ghana with a population of 34 million is a different proposition, right? And the fact is that if we're able to execute there, then we can execute anywhere else, right? And the only limiting factor at that point is capital. But my American partner, IGT in Jamaica, is listed on the NYSE, correct, Debbie? Is listed on the NYSE and is one of the biggest lottery companies in the world. So if I get an opportunity that I can't fund, I am in a conversation with the IGT guys, and you may very well see in the future where there's a partnership in other jurisdictions, right? So we're clear. We are taking baby steps. We know that if we're able to execute, it's going to be ridiculous money. But we're not spending our time thinking about that dream. We are now putting the team together. So I don't know, I think I've gotten most of the approvals, but you will see an announcement going out to the stock exchange probably this evening or tomorrow, where we have appointed Claire Ann Kennedy, the CEO for SVL Ghana. Claire, if you want to stand up. Right. So that's why them don't like to tell me things, because I'm going to talk it before them, the PR people were at them show, right? But that's how serious we are. So we are all fully engaged in dealing with the Ghana rollout, but at the same time, we're very minded, and as I've reminded Jesus and his team, that Ghana was made possible by the work of SV Gaming and the team at SV Gaming. So Jesus, Stefan, Dwayne, Mary, etc., all these people are who make that stronghold in Jamaica continually strong, right? So we're pushing out to try and make some more money, but at the same time, we have doubled down to make sure that Jamaica is safe and secure.
So one final question and a proposition to shareholders. So with respect to your executive chairman contract for compensation, was it renewed for the same terms as of April 1, 2023?
I don't know. Them don't talk to me yet.
Remember last year it was for 1 year to be paid in shares.
Yeah.
So was that agreement renewed in terms of payment in shares? Because you got quite a healthy payment last year.
Right. I got a what?
You got quite a healthy payment.
No, I got some shares.
You got more than $50 million, Gary.
Huh?
You got more than $50 million worth of SVL shares.
Sorry, go again?
You got more than $50 million worth of SVL shares in just the 9 months in 2022. So
9 months. Okay.
I said more than 50,
Right.
No, so like the company secretary can indicate.
It has not been finalized for this year.
And just to represent the shareholders, I see the auditor account presentation up right now. And I know that none of us want to hear for the next 30 minutes hearing, the auditor's report.
Right.
I know Mr. Staple isn't here.
What's your point?
So I want to know if I could propose a resolution, that the auditors just read the first 2 pages and we take the rest of it as read.
Unfortunately, fortunately, everybody here would support it. Unfortunately, the law doesn't allow for it. That's why we've been feeding Trisha some water to make sure she can speak for a while. But yeah. So that's any of your questions?
Yeah, because...
Thank you very much, David. Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now at our favorite section, or least favorite. I will now ask Trisha and the Silva representative from the audit firm PwC, our chartered accountants, to read the auditor's report on the accounts for the year ended December 31st, 2022. Trisha, can you and your bottle of water come to the podium? Oh.
Good morning, Chairman Peart, directors, management, shareholders. It's my pleasure to read the auditor's report this morning. Independent auditor's report to the members of Supreme Ventures Limited. Report on the audit of the consolidated and standalone financial statements. Or opinion. In our opinion, the consolidated financial statements and the standalone financial statements give a true and fair view of the consolidated financial position of Supreme Ventures Limited, the company, and its subsidiaries, together the group, and the standalone financial position of the company as at 31 December 2022, and of their consolidated and standalone financial performance and their consolidated and standalone cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with International Financial Reporting Standards, IFRS, and with the requirements of the Jamaican Companies Act.
Shareholders, ladies and gentlemen, with due respect, can we allow the auditor to read? It's a very important part of the AGM. So if you want to entertain in conversation, you can speak outside, but the feedback is very difficult. And Tricia has taken the time to be here to carry us through this legal process. So please, show us some respect.
Thank you. What we have audited. The group's consolidated and standalone financial statements comprise the consolidated statement of financial position as at 31 December 2022, the consolidated statement of comprehensive income for the year then ended, the consolidated statement of changes in equity for the year then ended, the consolidated statement of cash flows for the year then ended, the company statement of financial position as at 31 December 2022, the company statement of comprehensive income for the year then ended, the company statement of changes in equity for the year then ended, the company statement of cash flows for the year then ended, and the notes to the financial statements, which include significant accounting policies and other explanatory information. Basis for opinion. We conducted our audit in accordance with International Standards on Auditing, ISOs. Our responsibilities under those standards are further described in the auditor's responsibility for the audit of the consolidated and standalone financial statements section of our report. We believe that the audit evidence we have obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our opinion. Independence. We are independent of the group in accordance with the International Code of Ethics for Professional Accountants, including International Independent Standards, issued by the International Ethics Standard Board of Accountants, IESBA Code. We have fulfilled our other ethical responsibilities in accordance with the IESBA Code. Our audit approach. Audit scope. As part of designing our audit, we determined materiality and assessed the risk of material misstatement in the consolidated and standalone financial statements. In particular, we consider where management made subjective judgments, for example, in respect of significant accounting estimates that involved making assumptions and considering future events that are inherently uncertain. As in all of our audits, we also address the risk of management override of internal controls, including, among other matters, consideration of whether there was evidence of bias that represented a risk of material misstatement due to fraud. How we tailored our group audit scope. We tailored the scope of our audit in order to perform sufficient work to enable us to provide an opinion on the consolidated financial statements as a whole, taking into account the structure of the group, the accounting processes and controls, and the industry in which the group operates. The group comprises the company and 15 other components, 4 components representing inactive entities, of which we selected 6 components for testing. Full scope audits were performed for Supreme Ventures Limited, Supreme Ventures Gaming Limited, formerly Prime Sports Jamaica Limited, Supreme Ventures Racing and Entertainment Limited, and Supreme Ventures Services Limited, as they were determined to be individually financially significant and represent the principal business units within the group. All other entities individually represent less than 5% of the group's profit before taxation. Additionally, based on our professional judgment, Supreme Route Limited, formerly Bingo Investments Limited, and Post-to-Post Betting Limited were selected, and audit procedures were performed on specific account transactions and balances due to the significance or risk to the consolidated financial statements associated with certain individual amounts. All the in-scope components were audited by PwC Jamaica. In establishing the overall group audit strategy and plan, we determined the type of work required to be performed at the component level by the group engagement team and the component auditors. The team members on the component audit teams performing the full scope audits were also the same as those on the group engagement team. Key audit matters. Key audit matters are those matters that in our professional judgment were of most significance in our audit of the consolidated and standalone financial statements of the current period. These matters were addressed in the context of our audit of the consolidated and standalone financial statements as a whole and informing our opinion thereon. And we do not provide a separate opinion on these matters. So the first key audit matter, impairment assessment of goodwill for the group and company. And you could refer to notes 2H, 42, and 19 to the consolidated and standalone financial statements for disclosures of related accounting policies, judgments, estimates, and balances. Goodwill accounts for 2,054 million, or 11.2% of total assets for the group, and 190 million, or 2.3% of total assets for the company as at 31st December 2022. Management performs an annual impairment analysis over the goodwill balance. The recoverable amounts of cash-generating units have been determined based on value in use calculations. We focus on this area as the assessment of the current value of goodwill involves significant judgment and estimation and is sensitive to changes in key assumptions. The key assumptions were assessed by management as being pre-tax discount rate, terminal value growth rate, and EBITDA growth rate in the terminal year. How our audit addressed this key audit matter? Our approach to addressing the matter with the assistance of our valuation expert involved the following procedures amongst others. Obtain management's discounted cash flow model, including qualitative and quantitative analysis, and obtain an understanding of the process used by management to determine value in use of each cash-generating unit. Agree the 31 December 2022 base year financial information to current year results and compare the previous forecast to actual results to assess the performance of the business and the accuracy of management's forecasting. Tested management's key assumption as follows. Pre-tax discount rate, evaluated the reasonableness of management's determined rate by developing an independent expectation of the rate. Terminal value growth rate, evaluated management's terminal value, whereby we developed a range of parameters using available market inputs and historical information, and performed sensitivity analysis using these parameters to determine the reasonableness of management's assumptions. EBITDA growth rate in the terminal year, compare the growth rate to historical EBITDA growth, and evaluate management's estimated future growth rates, which included an assessment of management's business plans. We further checked management's impairment testing model calculations for mathematical accuracy and considered the sensitivity of the calculation by varying the key assumptions and adjustments within management's forecast. Based on the procedures performed, management's assumptions and judgments relating to the carrying value of goodwill, in our view, were not unreasonable. So moving to the second key audit matter, valuation of investment properties for the group, refer to notes 2G, 4I, and 18 to the consolidated and standalone financial statements for disclosures of related accounting policies, judgments, estimates, and balances. Investment properties represent 858 million, or 4.7% of total assets for the group as at 31 December 2022. The determination of the fair value of investment properties requires significant judgment and is inherently subjective due to, among other factors, the individual nature of each property, its location, and the expected future rental income for each property. This, combined with the fact that a small percentage difference in individual property valuation assumptions, when aggregated, could result in a material misstatement, is why we have focused on this area. Management, with the assistance of independent valuation experts, used different methods to value the group's 2 investment properties as follows. For the first property, the market comparison approach was combined with a residual approach to determine the fair value. The market comparison approach relies on suitable and substantial sales evidence of comparable properties within the geographic location, adjusting for certain pertinent factors to form a basis for comparison. The residual approach is based on the residue or difference between the gross development value of the highest and best use development of the site less its gross development costs. For the second property, the investment approach was used. The investment approach capitalizes the net income from the investment over its projected useful life and takes into consideration a number of factors which require estimation and judgment. The key factors include estimation of rental income, determination of a capitalization rate, and discount rates. How our audit addressed the key audit matter? Our approach to addressing the matter with the assistance of our valuation expert involved the following procedures, amongst others. We evaluated the competence and objectivity of management experts. This included confirming that they are properly qualified and not affiliated to the group. Obtain an understanding of the valuation methods used by management, along with significant developments within the industry. This included evaluating the appropriateness of the valuation methodology used and its suitability for determining market value in accordance with the financial reporting framework. Evaluated management's assumption for the market comparison approach by performing comparisons to properties within similar geographical locations. Assessed the appropriateness of the inputs using a residual approach in determining the gross development value and the gross development cost, focusing on the capital value per square foot and basic building costs. This involved evaluating inputs against suitable market information. Agreed the inputs used in investment approach to relevant market information for the key factors being the estimation of rental income, the capitalization factors, and the discount rates. Based on the procedures performed, management assumptions and judgments relating to the valuation of investment properties, in our view, were not unreasonable. Other information. Management is responsible for the other information. The other information comprises the annual report, but does not include the consolidated and standalone financial statements and our auditor's report thereon, which is expected to be made available to us after the date of this auditor's report. Our opinion on the consolidated and standalone financial statements does not cover the other information, and we will not express any form of assurance, conclusion thereon. In connection with our audit of the consolidated and standalone financial statements, thank you. Our responsibility is to read the other information identified above when it becomes available, and in doing so, consider whether the other information is materially inconsistent with the consolidated and standalone financial statements or our knowledge obtained in the audit, or otherwise appears to be materially misstated. When we read the annual report, if we conclude that there is a material misstatement therein, we are required to communicate the matter to those charged with governance. Responsibilities of management and those charged with governance for the consolidated and standalone financial statements. Management is responsible for the preparation of the consolidated and standalone financial statements that give a true and fair view in accordance with IFRS and with the requirements of the Jamaican Companies Act, and for such internal control as management determines is necessary to enable the preparation of consolidated and standalone financial statements that are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. In preparing the consolidated and standalone financial statements, management is responsible for assessing the group and company's ability to continue as a going concern, disclosing as applicable matters related to going concern, and using the going concern basis of accounting unless management either intends to liquidate the group or the company or to cease operations or has no realistic alternative but to do so. Those charged with governance are responsible for overseeing the group and company's financial reporting process. Auditors' responsibilities for the audit of the consolidated and standalone financial statements. Our objectives are to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the consolidated and standalone financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error, and to issue an auditor's report that includes our opinion. Reasonable assurance is a high level of assurance, but is not a guarantee that an audit conducted in accordance with ISOs will always detect a material misstatement when it exists. Misstatements can arise from fraud or error and are considered material if, individually or in the aggregate, they could reasonably be expected to influence economic decisions of users taken on the basis of these consolidated and standalone financial statements. As a part of an audit in accordance with ISOs, we exercise professional judgment and maintain professional skepticism throughout the audit. We also identify and assess the risk of material misstatement of the consolidated and standalone financial statements, whether due to fraud or error, design and perform audit procedures responsive to those risks, and obtain audit evidence that is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our opinion. The risk of not detecting a material misstatement resulting from fraud is higher than for one resulting from error, as fraud may involve collusion, forgery, intentional omissions, misrepresentations, or the override of internal controls. Obtain an understanding of internal control relevant to the audit in order to design audit procedures that are appropriate in the circumstances, but not for the purpose of expressing an opinion on the effectiveness of the group and company's internal control. Evaluate the appropriateness of accounting policies used and the reasonableness of accounting estimates and related disclosures made by management. Conclude on the appropriateness of management's use of going concern, basis of accounting, and based on the audit evidence obtained, whether a material uncertainty exists related to events or conditions that may cast significant doubt on the group or company's ability to continue as a going concern. If we conclude that a material uncertainty exists, we are required to draw attention in our auditor's report to the related disclosures in the consolidated and standalone financial statements, or if such disclosures are inadequate, to modify our opinion. Our conclusions are based on the audit evidence obtained up to the date of our auditor's report. However, future events or conditions may cause the group or company to cease to continue as a going concern. Evaluate the overall presentation, structure, and content of the consolidated and standalone financial statements, including the disclosures, and whether the consolidated and standalone financial statements represent the underlying transactions and events in a manner that achieves fair presentation. Obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence regarding the financial information of the entities or business activities within the group to express an opinion on the consolidated financial statements. We are responsible for the direction, supervision, and performance of the group audit. We remain solely responsible for our audit opinion. We communicate with those charged with governance regarding, among other matters, the planned scope and timing of the audit and significant audit findings, including any significant deficiencies in internal control that we identify during our audit. We also provide those charged with governance with a statement that we have complied with relevant ethical requirements regarding independence, and to communicate with them all relationships and other matters that may reasonably be thought to bear on our independence, and where applicable, actions taken to eliminate threats or safeguards applied. From the matters communicated with those charged with governance, we determined those matters that were of most significance in the audit of the consolidated and standalone financial statements of the current period and are therefore the key audit matters. We describe these matters in our auditor's report unless law or regulation precludes public disclosure about the matter, or when, in extremely rare circumstances, we determine that a matter should not be communicated in our report because the adverse consequences of doing so would reasonably be expected to outweigh the public interest benefits of such communication. Report on other legal and regulatory requirements. As required by the Jamaican Companies Act, we have obtained all the information and explanations which, to the best of our knowledge and belief, were necessary for the purposes of our audit. In our opinion, proper accounting records have been kept so far as appears from our examination of those records and the accompanying consolidated and standalone financial statements, and are in agreement therewith and give the information required by the Jamaican Companies Act in a manner so required. The engagement partner on the audit resulting in this independent auditor's report is Trisha Ann Smith da Silva. Signed, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Chartered Accountants, Kingston, Jamaica, dated 28 March 2023. Thank you.
Well, we'll give her a second clap to get through that. Well done, Trisha, well done. I'll send you an invoice for the water service. The director's report on audited accounts for the year ended 31st December 2022 have been circulated. They have been in your hands for the customary period, and I ask that the meeting take them as read. Shareholders, we now move to the business of the meeting. I will now ask the secretary to read the first resolution.
Resolution 1, that the audited group accounts for the year ended December 31st, 2022, and the reports of the directors and auditors circulated with the notice convening the meeting be and are hereby adopted.
Will a shareholder move this motion? David Rose. Will a shareholder second the motion? Arthur Ellison. I now put the motion before the meeting. Please signify in the usual way by raising hands. Those in favor? Those against? Resolution passes. I will now ask that the secretary read the second resolution. You want to come forward? I'm going to ask Director Hilton to come forward and take this one.
Good morning, shareholders. Are we at afternoon as yet? My task here briefly is to just identify, we've just noticed that there's a slight typographical error in this resolution. Many of you may have noticed it, or maybe you've already received the funds. So in the fourth line, where it speaks about a dividend being paid of 0.34 cents per stock unit on May 2nd, what you got was actually 34 cents per stock unit. So that was the the interim dividend declared by the directors and paid to you. And so this is just a minor typographical error. Probably would go through on the slip rule, but we do want to go through the formality of just amending it so that we vote on the accurate resolution. So I do want to put for your consideration a motion to amend just that error where it says 0.34, so that reads 34.0 cents, so it's a 34 cents dividend, and of course to waive notice of that resolution having gone out. I'm sure this is something you will welcome because we don't want to ratify less than what you actually got. So could I ask a shareholder to move that resolution? Director Levy, oh, I saw another shareholder. Would you like to second it? Seconded. All in favor? Anyone against? None. So we declare the resolution passed unanimously. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Director Hilton.
I will now read Resolution 2 as amended, that the interim dividends per stock unit of 34.01 cents per stock unit paid on May 20, 2022, 18.40 cents per stock unit paid on September 22, 2022, 14.54 cents per stock unit paid on December 15, 2022, and 34 cents per stock unit paid on May 2, 2023, be and are hereby ratified and declared as final on the recommendation of the directors, and that no further dividend be paid in respect of the year under review.
Move this motion, that gentleman. You got that? Mark? What's the last name? Okay. Seconded by David Rose. I now put a motion before the meeting. Please signify in the usual way by raising your hands. Those in favor? Those against? I declare the motion carried. In accordance with Articles 105 and 106 of the company's Articles of Incorporation, the directors retiring from office by rotations are Messrs. Chris Berry, Nicholas Mute, and Ms. Earlene Anderson. The Secretary will now read Resolutions 3A, B, and C.
Resolution 3A, that Mr. Christopher Berry, retiring pursuant to Articles 105 and 106 of the Articles of Incorporation, be and is hereby re-elected.
John Lanzel. Seconded by Denise Williams. Ironic. I now put the motion before the meeting. Please signify in the usual way by raising hands. Those in favor? Those against? I declare the motion carried.
Resolution 3B, that Mr. Nicholas Mute, retiring pursuant to Articles 105 and 106 of the Articles of Incorporation, be and is hereby re-elected.
Will a shareholder move this motion? Let's find a shareholder that's not already in the books. Yes, my young lady. Sorry? You got that? Say the name again, my dear. Marcia Nichols. Okay. Seconded by Patrick George Clark. I now put a motion before the meeting. Please signify in the usual way by raising hands. Those in favor? Those against? I declare the motion carried.
Resolution 3C, that Mrs. Earlene Anderson, retiring pursuant to Articles 105 and 106 of the Articles of Incorporation, be and is hereby re-elected.
Will a shareholder move this motion? Let's get somebody who was, sir, with the glasses. Garnet Richardson. Richards, take off his O-N. And seconded by, yes, sir, with the hat. What's your name? Sorry, I didn't hear. Barrett? What Barrett? William Barrett? William Barrett. I'll give everybody a chance. I now put the motion before the meeting. Please signify in the usual way by raising hands. Those in favor? Those against? I declare the motion carried. I'll now ask the Secretary to read resolutions 4A and 4B.
Resolution 4A, that the directors be and are hereby empowered to fix the remuneration of the executive director.
David Rose. Seconded. Patrick George Clark. PG Clark. PC Clark. PGC. Sorry. Sound like a football team. I now put the motion before the meeting. Please signify in the usual way by raising hands. Those in favor? Those against? I declare the motion carried. Thank you, shareholders.
That the amount shown in the audited accounts of the company for the year ended December 31, 2022, as remuneration of the directors for their services be and is hereby approved.
Will a shareholder move this motion? Get a chance. Denise Williams, seconded by David Staple. Oh, sorry, what's your last name? Come on, man. You're back broad. David Rose. My apologies, David Rose. I now put the motion before the meeting. Please signify in the usual way by raising hands. Those in favor? Those against? I declare the motion carried. The Secretary will now read Resolution 5.
Resolution 5, that PricewaterhouseCoopers, having signified their willingness to serve, be and are hereby appointed as auditors of the company until the conclusion of the next annual general meeting at a remuneration to be fixed by the directors.
Will a shareholder move this motion? Sir. Mark, got Mark's name? Barton, yes. Seconded by Denise, popular today, Denise Williams. I now put the motion before the meeting. Please signify in the usual way by raising hands. Those in favor? Those against? I declare the motion carried. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our 17th annual general meeting. We thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to your continued support. Please join us for refreshments just outside the room. We look forward to seeing you again next year. Thank you.